why raiding in Destiny isn't for you. Here we go again, another topic and another video. Another conversation about the issues that exist within the world that we love. So, what is the topic this time? Well, it's why raiding in Destiny isn't for you. Now, I'm sure that some of the people who find this video will be raiders or people who used to raid. But this video will also be seen by those who have never raided, those who found a wall that blocked them out of content they spent hours watching streamers play. You, the people who peered in, are the ones who wanted more than anything to reach deep into the vault of glass. The ones who wanted to watch Oryx drift off into space and Rolk turn into the streams of darkness that devoured him from within, in front of your very own eyes. Yet, you found no way to do it. So, today we're going to go over the things that make raiding one of the least played activities in Destiny. We are going to go over why so few get to partake in this truly awesome content. Today we will discuss why raiding in Destiny is not for you. So, let's talk about it. A world of new things. When Destiny first arrived in our galaxy, we scurried around the planets, completed our tasks, and helping to rid the Black Garden of the darkness. Yet, the rumors of the upcoming raid on Venus spread like wildfire across the dry lands. The excitement was intoxicating, so enthralling that the masses of Guardians could hardly wait. We would drive by the vault entrance and stare in awe, daring to get closer and closer and fight the guards that blocked our way. When the day arrived, we ventured deep into the vault. We battled the Templars, staved off destruction from the Oracles, and dared to run the maze of Gorgons. We found ourselves staring up at the entrance to the final boss, the doors slowly cracking open, giving way to an epic moment. This was what we were playing Destiny for. As we battled Atheon, as we jumped from world to world, portaling to Venus and then Mars, we threw him down from his place above us, tossing him aside as we conquered this awesome experience. I should tell you, the revelry and excitement that day were epic. I was hooked. Raiding was awesome and intense. 6 Guardians working together to fight against the darkness in an event that truly blew us away. Yet past Atheon, past the Gorgons, and past the Templar, there was the door, the entrance to the Vault of Glass, and the place where so many Guardians stood begging to be let in and play this content. But no one answered. No one came to open the door for them. No Guardians were there to fight alongside them. As the months passed, as the darkness grew in our galaxy, another threat loomed on the horizon, Crota. His presence and impact on Destiny would be felt from the moment he arrived. As many of us prepared our loadouts, as many of us made the run to the keyhole, fighting through the lamps, crossing the bridge, stopping the song, and finally bringing it into the Oversoul and throwing Crota down. Many Guardians could do nothing but watch from afar. They were robbed of the experience they had paid for, but would never touch unless they dared to go in alone. Crota was followed by Oryx, and Oryx was followed by Axis. The same sounds, the same pounding was heard. The same Guardians were screaming to be let in and allowed to play the content they desired. Now, Guardians, would you believe me if I told you these were the good times? These were the times when more people raided than they do now. Some of you will state more people raid now than before. Some of you will declare things are better now. Yet I disagree. I'm going to go over several points in this video that showcase how raiding in Destiny is not for you. Several reasons why I feel that raiding is not just for you, it's not for the majority of us. So let's get into it. A token for your time. When raiding first arrived in Destiny, we were all in awe of what we were playing. The exploration, the skybox, the encounters, and the traversal. We knew nothing about what we were doing and had to figure it out for ourselves, relying on rumors from previous fire teams that had dared to enter and the strategies they employed. We were as ready as we could be and started. We did what we thought we should be doing and died again and again. Each time a 30-second timer waited for us. We revived and tried again until we finally understood. Each death we placed before the Templar led to an exchange of knowledge, an understanding that a Guardian's death did not equal the end. It equaled growth, an understanding of the puzzle in front of us. As we mastered each phase of the raid, as we tossed death after death in exchange for knowledge on how to defeat this foe, we pushed ever deeper into the depths of this dark and twisted place. Each encounter and each sacrifice of life for knowledge led us to the defeat of Atheon. It led us to the understanding of how to beat this raid and how to master it. We left armed, upgraded our gear, and showed off our newest wares at the tower. Throngs of Guardians surrounded us, sending non-stop messages asking, "Where did you get that? How did you do this?" Yet we parted those seas and headed back into the darkness again, and again, and again. not once considering those we left behind. We were the masters of the vault now. We were the conquerors of Atheon. When the hard raid arrived, we were ready. We landed and approached the door, our guns at the ready, and the journey into the darkness began again. We entered the depths and stood over the Templars' arena, sure of our victory, sure of the fact we could trade death for knowledge. If only we knew that the cost of knowledge had multiplied greatly, that what would be required to learn would be more death and more time than we could ever truly know. Gone was the 30-second timer. Gone were the mistakes to be overcome. Now, perfection was required. Each time, you and your team had to work perfectly together. We stood and stared up at this massive new exchange that loomed over us, nodded our heads and went forward. We progressed through encounter after encounter, having to perfect and hone the knowledge we'd achieved in normal mode, and apply it with perfection in hard mode. We knew as we smote Atheon in hard mode that this would be our journey from now on. This would be how we would raid. The rush was too much. This hunger must be sated. We would train in the normal raids, tossing lives and guardians aside to mistakes, holding our breath and staying the course for 30 seconds at a time. When we became the masters of our craft, we would venture into the hard raid to seek riches and rewards. This was the path we walked. This was how we raided. We would train and forge new guardians in the ways of the normal raid. Then, when they were ready, we would bring them to the pillars of the hard raid. This was how we raided in D1. Yet, hold up, Guardians. Wasn't this supposed to be about how raiding isn't for you? Well, any good story, any good point, deserves context. When Destiny 2 arrived, we waited and wondered. We knew what our plan was going to be. Send forth our best warriors to train, and when they returned, they would, in turn, train the rest of our clan. Yet as we went into Leviathan, as we entered into Wipeout in space, we threw our lives at the wall of this raid and something happened. Something was different. Gone were the timers to revive. In its place, a white timer. A timer that if we did not revive our fallen guardian, we would all die. The cost had been listed, and the price would be paid. And how would we pay it? Not with lives from our fire teams, but from a coin, a raid token. 6 tokens to be exact. 1 for each guardian to carry. 1 for each guardian to revive. 1 for each guardian to bear. Suddenly the rules of raiding had changed. Suddenly the dynamic had changed. We went from raiding and being able to revive, overcome, and learn to this. This is what you get, Guardians. Take your coins and dare to cross the river Styx. Are you worthy to raid? Do you have the coin to pay for it? This is the first schism. This is the one that changed Destiny for many I knew. When raid tokens came into play, this is where Guardians started to fall behind. Not because the cost was too great, not because Guardians were not worth it, but because of time. We went from having the ability to learn and play through the sequences without having to restart them due to the smallest mistakes, to a time where a new player could cost your team, to a time where the smallest repeated mistakes would take double, triple, quadruple the time to learn. New players who were coming to learn, eager and hungry like a school kid on their first day of school. Instead of finding knowledge, instead of finding friendship, these friends were met with, "I don't have time tonight. Maybe after we finish this run, or we can try this weekend." As the days slipped by, as the sun set behind us again and again, these players of all skill levels found themselves going from raid members to raid watchers. They found themselves outside looking in while the experienced raiders regularly launched into the golden abomination that was Leviathan Raid. The addition of raid tokens started the schism of elitism even within the group of friends. Players who used to struggle in normal raids soon found walls and excuses when asking to raid. Players who did not know mechanics, struggled in jumping sections, or took the time to learn were suddenly found to be listening to raid groups and not participating in them. For you see, Guardians, as I stated above in my own experience, normal raids were how we trained. They were how we taught new players. They were how we took Guardians that were raw and ragged and forged them into raid machines, capable of clutching the most unclutchable of moments. Guardians who, without this training, would have never had the chance to be super, to be heroes. So why did all this change? Why was the addition of raid tokens so bad? Because failing over and over again, while someone new learns mechanics, can be truly frustrating when your whole team dies with them to the mechanics of the raid. Let's get mechanical. Raiding in Destiny is a trying experience. Going in blind on day one is something to behold. I've watched decade-old friendships end in seconds as raid teams failed. I've watched nobodies become superstars. I've beheld clutch moments that elicited nothing but cheers as a sun singer came to life to finish off the war priests. Yet, I've also watched as each raid became more and more intensive with its mechanics, more intricate with its design, and more daunting with its tasks. Like a looming building before us, one that as time passes seems to grow higher and higher, piercing the clouds in the sky as it looms over us, peering down upon us. I've watched as raiders have been forced to use programs and software outside of Destiny to track and show you, the Guardian, what must be done or who looks like what. I've watched as Bungie has tried its best to make each raid more impassable, to make each mechanic more frustrating in some grave attempt to make it more challenging. An example for you Guardians. In Crota in D1, the Chalice was not a raid mechanic, it was a raid addition, something to use in the presence of Crota to regain life, to heal. One person would hold it while the sword bearer did damage, quickly passing it to the hero as they arrived back to the safety of the Crystal Room. Yet, when Bungie, in its addiction to frustrating and annoying mechanics, brought Crota to D2, they turned the Chalice from an addition into a mechanic. Running the lamps now? Sorry Guardians, this isn't supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be challenging. Now you have to plate and pass the Chalice to make your way through the lamps. This felt a lot like some version of the Skullus fight in prison. Some of you might enjoy this. To me, it was an example of their temperament now. Each time Bungie makes a raid or updates a raid, it seems they dip it into the vat of mechanics again and again and again. Not satisfied unless it's dripping in mechanics. Each time they make a new raid, they do their best to try to stump the player base, to slow them down, to make a challenge, as they say. Now Guardians, you will notice that the only ones claiming that hard content is good content are the ones who regularly play it, the ones who apply some sense of self-worth to it. You will also notice that anyone not partaking, anyone who regularly doesn't raid, would disagree. Bungie has become addicted to hard and intensive mechanics. Bungie has become addicted to making each experience as frustrating as possible while removing as much fun as possible. You can find the signature of this belief all over the current portal and its power gating. But when Bungie is more addicted to, is removing the hero moment. By having mechanics that are so intensive they require multiple people to complete steps, we have lost the moments for our friends, our fire team members, our family, to rise and shine. Bungie has robbed us of the moment to clutch a raid, when the mechanics have become so intricate, so detailed that they require every Guardian every time to do their part. There is no longer any time for heroes to rise. It's now reached the part where most fire teams will wipe instead of proceeding because perfection is required. How many deaths in raid reported from wipes? How many of the thousands of lives that we used to throw at the feet of raids were from one person and the fire team then wiping? Forgot this mechanic? Wipe. Didn't do this step? Wipe. Didn't rally? Wipe. When the mechanic removes the fun, when the mechanic removes the joy, when the mechanic requires you to be perfect, why proceed with one failure? Perfection has already been lost. As each raid has gone by, as each raid has passed into time, the next always seems to be a bit more mechanic heavy, a bit more intensive, asking Guardians to do more, to jump through more hoops, to take down harder enemies, all while doing more. But also, as each raid comes and goes, fewer and fewer people play. As each raid comes and goes, fewer and fewer people will gain access. I know some of you will say, yes, in-game content will be the hardest content. It should be the hardest content, where only the best should play. Yet shouldn't everyone have the chance to learn? Shouldn't everyone have the chance to play? So, what am I trying to say? Where am I going with this? Well, I'm going right here. With the increase in mechanics, with the removal of 30-second revives and the addition of raid tokens, Guardians are less willing to take players they deem as lower skilled levels with them. They are less likely to take unexperienced players with them and temper them in the forge of raids. When you are spending hours and hours teaching someone symbols and vow, damage and root, and chalice and crota, people stop wanting to help. When the mechanics are so intensive that your clanmates, your friends list, tells you to go watch videos or to go do this mechanic in a game until you perfect it, to tend to all those tasks before they will even take you to learn. When all of these things happen, more and more Guardians are forced to the door of the raids, banging and banging to be let in. Is there any wonder why so few are raiding now? Why raiding is not for us? As Destiny has become more about power gating mechanics, desperately trying to find out what kind of game it is after 11 years, we, the players, are being forgotten. As Destiny makes raids more and more mechanically challenging, fewer and fewer players will be playing. Fewer and fewer players will feel the desire to help new players, old players, and the less skilled players learn the ropes of raiding. So, not here, Guardian. Not with them. Hey, can I get a hand? For the Guardians out there who lack clans, who are solo players and adventurers, or those who only play with friends, raids can be a challenge and a desire that will never be met, a hunger that will never be fulfilled, a goal that will never be achieved. For the small groups of players, for the ones who lack the team, the clan, the skills, or the time, raiding will forever be the event you get to watch, but never partake in. The event you get to desire, but will never be fulfilled by. Yet, there is a place where small groups of Guardians or solo players can go to try and find help, to try to find a team, to try to locate others like them. Yet, just like the Old West, just like the lawless towns of old, this place is filled with failure and anger, elitism and aggression, attitudes and insults. Where am I talking about? Raid Finder and LFG, of course, the bastion of the elite and rude, the kingdoms of the bitter. Now, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I've had nothing but bad experiences from LFG. I've met several people whom I now call friends through it, but I would be lying if I said the majority of my experiences were good. This toxic place, this virtual tower, the place we go to find others to raid. I've had people leave after one failed attempt, people insult and degrade us for not doing it their way. I've dealt with people who will come in and bring friends with them and demand one of ours leave so they could join. I've had people join to get a checkpoint, bailing as soon as their first wipe occurred, all the while screaming, "Thanks for the checkpoint," over their shoulder as the ship went to orbit. Many a Guardian from D1 will remember LFG being littered with must-have galley, all the while none of their party do. They will say, must know what to do, while all of them are lacking knowledge, knowing this route was easier than simply putting, "Please help us learn." Yet every so often, every once in a while, you will find the lone flower growing in the desert, peeping up from between the cracks of dirt clods to find life. Chill player willing to teach. Want a raid? I'll show you how. Yet these heroes, these leaders willing to give their time to help us get to a place where we can all play, these heroes helping us get to a place where we can all achieve our goals together, are so hard to find in the current times. Almost a myth and legend of modern Destiny. What's left are nothing but people wanting you to know, wanting you to have, and wanting you to do. I've tried to raid in the last few years. I've tried to go into raids after watching mechanic videos, after spending time reading on strategies. I search, I join, I've asked what I've done, and before the words, "This is my first time," have left my lips, I find myself sitting in my ship in orbit, wondering if anything that I was a part of just happened. LFG has been one of the biggest reasons across D1 and D2 that so few players are able to raid. Sure, it helps those willing to slog their way through the BS and toxicity to find a way to raid. Sure, it helps those of like minds and with the time and skills to connect. Yet most of the time, most of us are left not able to. The new players, the young players, the veteran players like myself whose clans have come and gone, moving on to other worlds or left behind, rarely able to find a place long enough to get through first, maybe second encounter. They stare into the window and wonder what it would be like, what this adventure would truly be like to endure in person. Yet so many of us are left outside because the community, or the lack thereof, doesn't want to help temper the next raid masters. They are not here for us. They are here for themselves. Long gone is the sense of team and understanding, replaced by their own needs and the lack of time to achieve it. LFG has, for its part, helped some raid, some find homes, and some find new friends. But for the most part, Fireteam Finder and LFG lead to a series of frustrating events and toxic people. You know what I'm talking about. Most of you have experienced this. Most of you have run into toxic raiders, superstars who bask in their own ego while failing so horribly as people. Yet I know our time is our own, and know that we have no place to ask others. But these people who refuse to help are actually the toxic ones who lay waste to a community and destroy the possibilities of what could be. Conclusion and solution. As Destiny continues to implement these changes, as they accept their tokens for death monetary system, as they make raids harder and harder with mechanics that frustrate and ensure that good players are unwilling to train anyone else, we will see one of the best activities in Destiny be relegated to the smallest group of players. We will see some of the best content in Destiny, the true endgame of PvE, be relegated not to an ocean, a sea or a lake, not a river or pond, but a puddle of its player base. Raiding in Destiny is one of the least done PvE activities in the entirety of the game, yet this is the one they choose to spotlight the most. The raid race, the statistics. You'd think if Bungie wanted more people to raid, more people to be a part of the in-game community, they would do something to open this activity to us all. They would do something that welcomed in those who wanted to raid, those who wanted to learn, those who wanted to stamp their legacy into the raids we seek to conquer. But they don't. They double down with raids that become more and more mechanically heavy. They double down on specific metas and methods to DPS epic bullet sponge bosses. They double down on making the content so intense that if any player dies in an early enough stage in the encounter, it's easier to just wipe and start over and not forfeit the death. So is there any hope? Is there any sunshine on the horizon? Will the sun rise and bring brightness to our day? I doubt it. Bungie's decided they want to market their content to the smallest portion of the player base. Whether it's with raids or the portal, GMs or strikes, Bungie wants every bit of its content to be as mechanically heavy as possible to ensure the longest playtime and the most elite players are playing it. Yet Bungie forgot one thing. The group they are making this game for now, the group that they are designing all this content for, is the smallest portion of the player base. Bungie should quickly give the rest of the player base its attention, because if they don't, if they refuse to look away from the people who want hard, high-end content, when they finally do look back at their player base, they will find no one there looking back at them. Now, I will say this. If I was approached, if I was asked what I would do to fix this, I would say something simple. Bring back normal raid modes with no tokens. Remove the massive barriers that have been put in place to stop us from training all these people. Allow us to be able to raid, to be able to learn, and then progress to the higher end, more intensive content. This would solve multiple problems. One, it would give all Guardians an understanding of what the raid was and required. Two, it would help them keep playing and not reset nonstop, thereby having to redo sequences over and over and over and avoid burnout. Three, it would alleviate a lot of the stress it puts on those who take the time to train new raiders and guardians. 4. It would allow more people to go into Fireteam Finder and LFG with the knowledge needed to actually raid, giving them better experiences and the proper tools to combat the elitist raiders of Destiny. 5. Find a way to implement a matchmaking system in the Destiny raid universe. This could be achieved by using the same methods that were applied to dungeons in Rise of the Nine. And even then, even if those players only got to raid in nothing but normal, at least they would have access to the content they paid for. At least, raiding would be for all of us then. So there it is, Guardians. I've given my reasons why I felt that raiding in Destiny isn't for you, and now isn't for me. Why one of the best in-game activities in Destiny isn't for us. But maybe, just maybe if my ideas were taken, it could be. With all that said, I appreciate your time. A like and a sub would help. Once again, thank you to all for viewing this video and making it this far. I am truly grateful for you and for the time you give me. So leave a comment and let me know what you agreed with, and if you didn't agree with me, let me hear your opinion in the comments below. So carry on, Guardians, even if it is to other games and worlds while we wait for this one to be fixed. Hopefully, we'll still end up back here, together again, fighting the monsters of the universe, hoping that some awesome PvE in-game content is on the horizon. Or maybe it's always been here.